Hey y'all. Tonight is supposed to get really, really cold here, like down in the low 20s, which that doesn't happen very often here in Georgia, but winter's here. So I am making soup. I wanted to make some broccoli cheese soup, or cheesy broccoli soup, however you want to say it, and serve it in bread bowls. So yesterday I actually made my bread bowls. Let me show those to you. Hold on one second. Here's my bread bowls. I've got 3 of them here, so I'll be cutting the center side of them and actually turn them into bowls. Right now they're just big chunks of bread. So I'll scoop out those centers. I'll save the center for some croutons or something else, and then we'll have this nice cheesy soup that I'm about to make to go in it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a half a stick of butter. This is just some of these butters actually come in little half stick size, so that's what this is. I'm going to put it right here in this pot, melt it, and then add a half a cup of chopped onion, which I've already chopped up, and 2 cloves of garlic. So I'm gonna get that going, let it get soft, and then I'll get right back with you. Okay, I'm back, and the onions are nice and translucent over here in the pan, and the garlic. And so now I'm going to start adding in all the other ingredients. One thing it asked for was for us to add some very finely chopped carrots. Who would have thought that there was carrots in broccoli soup? But I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. It's going to be loud for just a second, but I'm finely chopping. I've got some rough chopped carrots right here, and now I'm just going to bang them a few times with this thing, so hold your ears. And there we go, finely chopped carrots. So I'm going to dump those on over here in the pan. They can start getting tender. And then it called for 4 cups of broccoli flowerets. So, I've cut them down into little flowerets here, and I'm just going to dump these in. Well, there's a couple of them that are bigger. Let me see. I like them to be small, so I'm going to whack these just a couple more times here. But they're probably going to tear up in here anyhow, once they get tender. I just don't want any really big chunks of broccoli. But most of them are tiny. And then I'm going to add in the chicken broth and half and half cream or milk. All right, I think I've got most of these small. This one's a little bit bigger. So there's the broccoli all in there. I'm also going to put in 2 bay leaves, just regular bay leaves. And here's 3 cups of chicken broth. And 2 cups of half and half. I'm going to add in a half a teaspoon of salt. For now, of course, we'll always taste it when it gets closer to being done. I'm going to put in 1/4 a teaspoon of black pepper. And this is one I didn't really think about, but it was on the recipe. It's 1/4 a teaspoon of nutmeg, just ground nutmeg. So I'm going to stir all that together here. And we're just going to let this simmer until these vegetables get nice and done. We want them to be very tender. So anyhow, I'll be back with y'all in probably about 10-15 minutes when those are nice and Okay, so some of y'all have asked me about the bread and how I made it. So I wanted to show you, I actually make my bread from scratch. I start with wheat. So hold on, I'm going to show you. I'm going to flip the camera around so you can see here in my pantry where Okay, so down here you can see I've got big buckets of wheat. This one right here, this is hard red wheat. I've actually put some in a smaller bucket above it. But then this is my hard white wheat. And I just want to show you what it looks like. So you can see it's just little grains of wheat that, anyhow, what I do is I'll take a scoop, well, several scoops of wheat, and then I'll bring them in here. I've got a grinder. This is the Nutrimill. This is where I take the wheat and put it up here in the top of this mill and then turn it on, and it grinds it into flour, and then the flour will be down here in this bottom part. I pull it out, and then I have my flour. And then I'll mix up my ingredients for the bread, and I put it down in my my Zojirushi, there it is, bread machine. But now I don't bake it in this. I only mix it in this. It's like for 45 minutes. Before I had this machine, though, I did it right in my regular mixer, my regular KitchenAid mixer, I think it's called. My big mixer that I keep up under there, yeah. So it can be done that way. Grinding the wheat itself is the actual hardest part, not hardest, it's the one that most people are not going to have the tools to do that. So if you don't have a mill for milling the wheat, then just buy the best whole wheat flour that you can find, and just make sure it's truly whole wheat flour. And then you can use the same recipe, and I will post the recipe out on my website. That's athomewithgigi.com, and so you'll be able to see that. But anyhow, and then after the bread, the dough comes out, then I knead it for just a little bit more, not much, because it's already been kneaded in that machine. But I'll knead it just a little bit and then shape it into the shapes that I want and bake it for about 25 minutes. So these that I did, I'll show you this one. This is the hard white bread, and I'm going to just trim around this in just a second and dip out the bread out of the center, so that then we can just pour the soup in there. So anyhow, I think it's going to be fun, different kind of dinner. Hey, you try to do something different. Make meals a little more exciting than just saying, here's a bowl of soup. So I think it'll be fun. Something different for me and Bob to experience tonight. Anyhow, I'll catch up with you a little bit. These things are still coming to a boil. It hadn't even come to a boil yet. It's just heating up. I can see a little bit of steam, but hasn't started boiling yet. So when it starts boiling, it's going to cook until those vegetables are done. So I'll get back with you in just a little bit. Okay, y'all, I wanted to show you, I've sketched out on here the circle that I want to cut, just so I can guide my knife around. And I'm going to just turn this down so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm just going to go in. I'm only going to go about halfway of my knife here, because I don't want to go into the bottom at all, because we want it to be like a bowl, and it'll hold the soup. I'm just cutting all the way around, exactly where I had sketched on here, or marked with my knife. to where I started, and then I'm just going to cut underneath it a little bit like this so that I can lift it. And here is my little top. And I just lift it out of there. And now I'll take a fork and just pull the rest of this bread out. I'm trying to keep it all in one piece as much as I can. That way I can use it for other things. Like cutting it up and toasting it for croutons or something like that. So I'm just gonna scoop up under that. And I've got a nice big chunk of it here that I can cut into something else for croutons. And this will just be like some breadcrumbs, which I may toast those too, because toasted breadcrumbs are good in things like meatloaf or salmon patties or whatever you would use breadcrumbs in. So this just shows you lots of little breadcrumbs here. So let me dump those out. Show you how this is looking. So now I've got a nice little bowl here ready for the soup, and it even has a little top. So I'll set that right in my dish, and when I'm ready to dip up the soup, I'll put it right in the bowl. Just wanted y'all to see that. Soup's getting really close to being ready, and I'll get back with you in a minute. All right, y'all, the vegetables are ready, so I'm going to mix up the thickening agent now. This is 1/4 cup of cornstarch, just regular cornstarch. And now I'm going to add in 1/4 cup more of the chicken broth. Well, that's just telling me that the vegetables are ready. That's what that beeping was. I had timed it for 12 minutes once they started boiling. So I'm just stirring this until it's nice and smooth, no lumps. And then I'm going to just stir this right into the pot here. Let me lift you up so you can see what I'm doing. I know that's probably hard to see because of the light on it. Let me try this. See if that helps. It's really hard because it's a white soup and the inside of this pot is white, so it's probably just hard for you to see it. So this will just thicken up the soup. And then when we add the cheese, that will thicken it the rest of the way. I already took the 2 bay leaves out, by the way. You don't want to bite into a bay leaf. So you can see this is thickening this soup up pretty good already. Just needs to cook for a couple minutes. It'll get nice and thick. Then I'm going to add in 2½ cups of cheddar cheese. Which I already have right here. This is really getting nice and thick now. So I'm just going to stir this in gradually. Oh, this is looking yummy. All right, that's all the cheese in there now. Let me get you a little closer so you can see how it's looking down in here. It's got that nice yellowish look that the cheese brings to it. And you can see how thick it is. So it is ready. We're going to dip it up into these bread balls in just a second. And turn the fire off. I'll be right back. Okay, y'all, here it is. Doesn't that look good? It's got his little top right there, but it's oozing out on the sides. It's gonna be good. Anyhow, can't eat it right this second because it's too hot. So we'll dip up the other one and then Bob and I will eat up. Be right back. Okay, y'all, I couldn't wait, so I am going to go ahead and try a bite of this. Just break down part of the side wall. Get a little bit of this soup out. It's very hot. The perfect complement to my great bread. This is going to be a very filling meal. It's going to warm our tummies. So, great thing to have on a very cold night. I'll post the recipe, like I said, for the bread and for the soup out on my webpage at homewithgigi.com. You can print it out. You just click on the print button. If you'll also click on the sign up form, you'll be able to be entered in any of the drawings that I do. I usually do some drawings about once a month, or when I've reached certain stages, like so many videos or so many followers, things like that. So anyhow, it's fun. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I appreciate it. And I hope y'all stay really warm this weekend because it's gonna be a cold one. God bless. Love y'all.